Questions. Have you ever seen a tree in a storm? The wind is wild, the rain is furious, branches are shaking, leaves are flying, and yet some trees don't fall. Why? Because their roots are deep. Questions. Similarly, in life, the storms will come: failure, heartbreak, betrayal, uncertainty. But if your mental roots are deep, you will bend, but not break. Today, questions. Let's talk about how to build that unshakable mental strength, not just to survive storms, but to dance in the rain. You see, mental strength is not built in one day. It's built every day. Questions. It's not a switch you turn on when life goes wrong. It's a muscle you train when life is going right. Most people work hard on their career muscles, body muscles. Questions. Even Instagram muscles still laughs you, but forget to train their mind muscle. So let's learn how to do that. I remember once meeting a young man after a session. He came up and said, "Sir," questions, "my life is full of problems. I feel like giving up." I smiled and asked, "Do you go to the gym?" He said, "Oh yes, sometimes." I asked, questions. "When do your muscles grow? When you lift the light weights or the heavy ones?" He said, "Heavy ones." I said, "Exactly." Questions. Your mind grows through heavy problems. The challenges you face are not breaking you, they are building you. Mental strength starts with perception. Questions. It's not what happens to you. It's how you respond to what happens to you. Life is 10% what happens and 90% how you take it. When you say, "Why is this happening to me?" questions, you become a victim. When you say, "What is this teaching me?" you become a warrior. So the first step to change why me, to try me. In this noisy world, silence is power. Questions. We live in an age where your phone battery lasts longer than your patience. A laugh's mental strength means learning to pause before reacting. When someone insults you, don't respond immediately. Questions. Take a breath, because that one breath can save you from 10 regrets. As Gaur Gopal often says, don't be a thermometer that reacts to the heat. Questions. Be a thermostat that sets the temperature. A motivation comes and goes. Discipline stays. If you only act when you feel like it, you'll rarely grow. If you act even when you don't feel like it, questions, you'll become unstoppable. Wake up early not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. Read daily not because it's trendy, but because it's training your mind. Questions. Every small habit you repeat builds a mental muscle you'll need in crisis. Questions. In a world where everything happens instantly, instant noodles, instant messages, instant fame, people have begun expecting instant results in everything, including personal growth. Questions. But mental strength doesn't come in a microwave packet. It's more like cooking a slow, nourishing meal. It takes patience, consistency, and daily effort. Think of it like going to the gym. Questions. You can't walk in on day one, lift a few dumbbells, and walk out with a bodybuilder's physique. You must show up day after day, sometimes without seeing visible progress. Questions. The same goes for your mind. Every day that you face your fears, choose calmness over anger, patience over frustration, and hope over despair. You're training your mental muscles. Questions. Let's take a simple daily example. Imagine you're driving to work and someone suddenly cuts you off in traffic. Your first reaction? Anger. You want to shout, honk, or maybe even chase them down. Questions. But then you take a deep breath and think, maybe they're rushing to the hospital. Maybe they made a mistake. You let it go. Questions. That one small act, choosing peace over reaction, is a rep for your mind. You just became stronger. Mental strength isn't about grand moments of heroism. Questions. It's built in those quiet moments when nobody is watching, when you choose to respond differently than your impulses demand. Questions. It's in the patience you show when your child spills milk for the third time. It's in the kindness you extend when a colleague takes credit for your work. Questions. It's in the way you smile when life tests you yet again. Every such moment is a brick in the foundation of an unshakable mind. There's a story of a man who visited a monk and said, "Master, questions, I want peace." The monk smiled and replied, "Remove the I. That's ego. Remove the want, that's desire. What remains is peace." The man didn't get peace instantly, questions, but he understood that it takes daily practice to drop ego and desire. Similarly, mental strength requires us to remove our need for instant gratification. Questions. You can't meditate once and expect eternal calmness. You can't read one motivational book and expect unwavering confidence. It's built through repetition, daily, silently, steadily. Questions. Let's think about how we handle disappointment. Suppose you've been working hard on a project and at the last moment, your boss rejects it. Most people would immediately feel crushed, questions, lose confidence, or even blame others. But a mentally strong person pauses, breathes, reflects, and asks questions. What can I learn from this? That simple shift from reaction to reflection is where strength is forged. Each day offers opportunities to grow mentally stronger. Questions. But most people miss them because they look too ordinary. When you resist gossiping about someone, you're strengthening your integrity. When you admit your mistake instead of hiding it, questions, you're strengthening your humility. When you keep going despite fatigue, you're strengthening your perseverance. These aren't small things. They are daily victories that shape your mental armor. Questions. One of the biggest misconceptions is that strong people are born that way. Nobody is born mentally strong. They become strong through the storms they survive. Every failure, rejection, questions, and heartbreak adds another layer of resilience. If you learn from it instead of running away from it, take the example of a bamboo tree. When you plant a bamboo seed, questions, for years you see nothing above the ground. You water it daily, nurture it, and still there's no visible growth. But underground, the roots are spreading wide and deep. Then suddenly, questions, in the 5th year, the bamboo shoots up 80 feet tall in just 6 weeks. Did it grow in 6 weeks? No, it grew over 5 years of invisible strength. That's exactly how mental strength develops. Questions. You may not see progress immediately, but beneath the surface, your roots are growing. There will be days when you feel like nothing's working. You meditate but still get angry. Questions. You stay positive but life still throws challenges. That's okay. Even when the seed is underground, growth is happening. Don't give up because you don't see instant results. Questions. The day you're ready to quit is often the day your mind is about to grow stronger. Let me share a real life moment. I once met a woman who had gone through tremendous pain. She lost her job. Questions. Her husband left her and her health was deteriorating. Yet she smiled and said, "I thank life for every lesson it has given me." Questions. It made me discover strength I never knew I had. That's mental strength built daily. Not in one meditation session, not in one motivational talk. Questions. But through every sleepless night she faced with courage, every tear she turned into a lesson, every morning she decided to get up again. Mental strength is not about never feeling weak. Questions. It's about acknowledging your weakness and still choosing to move forward. You can cry and still be strong. You can fall and still be strong. Questions. You can doubt yourself and still be strong, because strength isn't the absence of pain, it's the refusal to be defeated by it. So, every day choose to do one small thing that trains your mind. Questions. When your alarm rings, get up immediately instead of snoozing. Discipline builds strength. When you feel like complaining, say something you're grateful for. Gratitude builds strength. Questions. When you want to react, pause and breathe. Patience builds strength. Bit by bit, day by day, you'll notice that situations that once disturbed you no longer shake you. Questions. What once broke you now barely bends you. That's when you'll realize you didn't just go through life's storms, you grew through them. Mental strength isn't a gift. Questions. It's a garden you water every day with small acts of awareness, patience, and gratitude. It's not about never falling, it's about standing up one more time, then you fall. Questions. And when you do this consistently, quietly, daily, one day you'll look back and smile at your old self and say, I've come so far. Questions. The storms didn't destroy me, they trained me. That is what it means to build mental strength daily, not instantly. Questions. There's a beautiful truth hidden in the struggles we face. Life's challenges are not sent to destroy us. They are designed to develop us. But most people, when facing difficulties, questions, immediately ask, why is this happening to me? Instead of, what is this teaching me? The moment you change that one question, your entire life begins to transform. Questions. Think about how gold is purified. It's placed in fire, not because it's worthless, but because it's valuable. The heat removes the impurities, and what comes out of the fire shines brighter. Questions. In the same way, challenges are the fires that purify our minds and refine our character. If life feels like it's heating up, maybe you're being prepared for something greater. Questions. Let's look at a simple example. Imagine you're learning to ride a bicycle. The first few times you fall, scrape your knee, and feel embarrassed. But do those falls break you? No. In fact, questions. Each fall teaches you balance. Without falling, you'd never learn how to ride confidently. Similarly, every setback in life teaches you something valuable. Patience, humility, resilience, empathy, questions, or courage. The falls don't define you, how you rise does. Every successful person you admire today has a chapter of failure in their story. Questions. But the reason they stand tall is because they didn't let those failures break them. They let them build them. Steve Jobs was fired from his own company. Questions. Yet that rejection pushed him to create something even better. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television. But that challenge became the foundation for her global impact. Questions. The difference between those who grow and those who give up lies in how they interpret their pain. Think of your life as a construction site. Questions. The challenges are like the rough stones that need polishing. If you run away from them, your building remains incomplete. If you face the questions, you transform those stones into the strong foundation on which your future stands. Growth is often disguised as struggle. Let's take a more personal example. Questions. Imagine a young woman preparing for a big promotion. She works tirelessly but doesn't get the position. She feels defeated, worthless, and ready to quit. But a few months later, questions. She realizes that the skills she learned during that process, leadership, communication, patience, prepared her for an even bigger opportunity elsewhere. The rejection wasn't the end. Questions. It was a redirection. What she thought was breaking her was actually building her. Life often uses discomfort to push us into the growth we avoid. Questions. You don't build muscle by staying comfortable. You build it by challenging your limits. Similarly, you don't grow mentally strong by living an easy life. Comfort creates complacency. Questions. Challenges create champions. Let's look at how nature works. When a chick is ready to hatch, it must break its shell from the inside. That process is painful, slow, and full of struggle. Questions. But if someone breaks the shell for it, the chick dies. It never develops the strength it needs to survive. The struggle is what gives it life. In the same way, if life didn't give you challenges, questions, you'd never develop the strength to handle your blessings. Sometimes what feels like punishment is preparation. When a seed is buried in the dark soil, it might think, questions, I'm being buried alive, but in reality it's being planted. Soon, that darkness becomes the birthplace of its growth. So, the next time life buries you in difficulties, questions, don't think you're finished. Maybe you're just getting started. One day you'll look back and realize that the hardest moments taught you the most valuable lessons. Questions. The heartbreaks that made you cry also made you wise. The failures that made you doubt yourself also made you disciplined. The betrayals that shattered your trust also taught you discernment. Questions. The loneliness that made you ache also made you self-reliant. Mental strength is not built in the sunshine, it's built in the storm. Questions. Anyone can smile when life is easy, but strength is when you can smile through the pain, when you can still choose gratitude in loss, faith in fear, and hope in hardship. That's true power. Questions. Think about the butterfly. Before it can fly, it must struggle to escape the cocoon. Scientists once tried to help a butterfly by cutting open the cocoon early, but it emerged weak and unable to fly. Questions. The very struggle of pushing against the cocoon was what made its wings strong enough to soar. Likewise, your struggles are not holding you back, they're preparing your wings. Even in daily life, questions. We face small challenges that test us. Maybe it's waking up early for work, dealing with a rude colleague, managing finances, or studying for exams. Each of these tests your patience, focus, questions, and perseverance. Every time you choose to keep going instead of giving up, you're becoming stronger. These everyday struggles are your mental gym, they're shaping you silently. But remember, questions. Challenges don't just build strength, they also build perspective. When you faced storms, you start appreciating the calm. When you've known hunger, you value food. When you've walked alone, questions. You recognize true companionship. Struggles teach you what really matters. They humble your ego and elevate your soul. So the next time life tests you, don't say, "Why me?" Say, questions. Thank you for trusting me with this. Because if life is giving you a challenge, it means it knows you have the potential to overcome it. Questions. Diamonds are not made in comfort. They're made under pressure. And every challenge you face is pressure designed to reveal your brilliance. There's a saying, questions. The strongest steel is forged in the hottest fire. When life turns up the heat, it's not burning you. It's shaping you. Every pain, every setback, questions. Every fall is not your end, it's your evolution. One day you'll stand tall and tell your story, and someone else who is struggling will find strength in your scars. Questions. You'll realize that what you once thought would break you actually built the most powerful version of you. So don't run from challenges. Embrace them, because they are not obstacles on your path. Questions. They are part of your path. And when you rise above them, you'll see that you didn't just survive life's storms. You were sculpted by them into something unshakable. That's the beauty of it. Questions. Challenges don't break you, they build you. Questions. Life doesn't always go according to plan. Sometimes, despite all your hard work, things fall apart. You lose opportunities, people disappoint you, situations hurt you, and dreams slip away. Questions. In those moments, it's natural to feel frustrated and ask, why me? But the truth is, the quality of your life depends on the questions you ask yourself. Why me? Keeps you stuck in pain. Questions. But try me transforms that pain into power. When you ask, why me? You become a victim. You give your power away to the situation. You tell yourself that life is unfair. Questions. And you let your emotions control you. But when you say, try me, you take that power back. You look at the same problem and say, questions. This challenge has come my way because I'm strong enough to face it. It's a shift from helplessness to heroism, from frustration to faith, from weakness to willpower. Questions. Let's take a simple example from daily life. Imagine you've been preparing for a big exam, and despite months of study, you fail. Most people would immediately say, why me? I worked so hard. Questions. But still I didn't succeed. That thought keeps you sad and stuck. But if you say, try me, the situation changes. You begin to ask, what can I do differently? Questions. What did this experience teach me? That mindset turns failure into feedback. It's not the situation that defines your strength, it's your attitude toward it. Questions. Life's challenges don't come to destroy you, they come to develop you. Every time you replace why me with try me, you grow a little stronger inside. Think of a boxer in the ring. Questions. He doesn't say, why am I being punched? He says, try me, I can take it. Because he knows every punch he takes makes him more skilled, more aware, more powerful. Life is the same. Questions. Every problem you face is a punch designed to strengthen your spirit. You can either complain about the pain or train through it. Questions. One of the most inspiring examples of this mindset shift comes from the story of Nick Ujicic, a man born without arms and legs. Most people in his place would have spent life asking questions, why me? But Nick turned his pain into purpose. He travels the world inspiring millions, proving that the human spirit is far stronger than circumstances. His life says loudly, questions, try me. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice, a conscious decision every time life tests you. When you miss a bus, lose a job, or face heartbreak, you have two choices. Questions, complain or grow. The moment you choose growth, you take a step toward unshakable mental strength. Think about the times when something small irritated you, like getting stuck in traffic. Questions. You could either fume and ruin your mood for the day, or you could smile and say, all right, life, try me. I'll use this time to listen to something inspiring. One mindset drains you. Questions. The other empowers you. You see, why me focuses on the problem, while try me focuses on the potential. Why me looks backward, try me looks forward. Questions. Why me sees obstacles, try me sees opportunities. The shift is not external, it's entirely internal. There's a beautiful story of a farmer whose horse ran away. Questions. His neighbors came and said, oh no, that's terrible luck. The farmer replied, maybe. A few days later, the horse returned with 3 more wild horses. The neighbors said, wow. Questions. That's great luck. The farmer again said, maybe. Later, his son broke his leg while trying to tame one of the wild horses. That's terrible luck, said the neighbors. Questions. The farmer smiled and said, maybe. Soon after, soldiers came to recruit young men for war. But his son was spared because of the broken leg. Questions. Every event that seemed bad turned out to be a blessing in disguise. That's the power of perspective. When you live with a try me attitude. Questions. You start to see that even what looks like a setback can become a setup for something better. You begin to trust that life is not happening to you. It's happening for you. Questions. We all have moments when life knocks us down. A failed relationship, a business loss, a betrayal, a dream that doesn't work out. In those moments, it's easy to drown in self-pity. Questions. But strength lies in standing up, dusting yourself off and saying, is that all you got? Try me. Imagine 2 people facing the same problem. One keeps repeating, why me? Questions. I can't take this anymore. The other says, try me. Let's see what I'm capable of. Which one do you think grows? Which one discovers their true strength? Questions. It's not that the second person doesn't feel pain. They just don't let pain have the final word. In your daily life, start small. When your day doesn't go as planned, when things seem unfair. Questions. Stop and remind yourself, this is my training. Just like a soldier trains harder in peace so they can fight in war. Life gives you small challenges every day to prepare you for bigger ones. Questions. Let's say your boss criticizes you harshly. Instead of feeling defeated and saying, why me? I work so hard. You can say, try me. Questions. I'll learn from this and come back stronger. That response doesn't just change the situation. It changes you. You grow from the inside. Even in relationships, this mindset matters. Questions. When someone hurts you, you can either say, why do people always do this to me? Or you can say, try me. I'll rise above bitterness. Questions. I'll stay kind. The second approach frees your heart from negativity. Life will always test you. It's not personal, it's purposeful. Every test is a teacher. Questions. Every struggle a sculptor shaping you into a wiser, more grounded version of yourself. The pain you feel today might just be the strength you'll need tomorrow. There's a saying, questions. A smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. If life were always calm, you'd never learn to steer. The storms are what make you steady. So, when the waves rise, don't panic. Anchor your faith. Questions. Grip your courage and say, try me. When you live with this mindset, fear starts losing its power. You stop worrying about what can go wrong and start trusting yourself to handle whatever comes. Questions. You stop seeing challenges as punishment and start seeing them as preparation. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize that every time life said, I'll break you, you reply, questions. Try me. And you came out stronger, wiser, and more peaceful than before. That's the real magic of mental strength. It's not about avoiding pain, but about transforming pain into power. Questions. So the next time life tests you, don't ask, why me? Smile, lift your head high and say, try me. Questions. In today's fast-paced world, we are constantly reacting to people, situations, messages, news, and even our own thoughts. Someone says something unpleasant, and before we even realize it, questions, words of anger fly out, a small inconvenience happens, and frustration takes over. We live in a world where our reactions are faster than our reflections. But the truth is, questions. True mental strength doesn't come from how loudly you respond. It comes from how calmly you can stay when everything around you is loud. Pause before reacting. Sounds simple, questions. But it is one of the most powerful practices you can ever develop. Because in that small pause lies your greatest strength. The power to choose peace over chaos, wisdom over impulse, questions, and understanding over anger. Let's start with a simple example. Imagine you're driving and suddenly someone cuts in front of you recklessly. Your immediate impulse to honk, shout, questions, or mutter something under your breath. But then you take a deep breath and think, maybe that person is rushing to the hospital. Maybe they made a mistake. You choose to let it go. Questions. That pause, just a few seconds, saves your peace for the rest of the day. You can either let one stranger ruin your mood, or you can take control of your response. That's calmness. That's power. Questions. Calmness is not the absence of emotion. It's the mastery of emotion. It's not about suppressing your feelings. It's about guiding them with awareness. When you pause before reacting, questions, you give your mind a chance to process instead of explode. You move from impulse to intelligence. Have you noticed how some people can stay peaceful even in the middle of chaos? Questions. It's not because their life is easier. It's because they've trained their minds to pause before responding. Questions. They've learned that the space between what happens and how you react is where your power lies. There's a story about a monk and his student walking by a river. Suddenly, questions. A man nearby began shouting angrily, scolding his son. The student got irritated and asked the monk, why do people shout when they're angry? Questions. Even when the other person is right next to them. The monk smiled and said, when people get angry, their hearts grow distant. To cover that distance, they raise their voices. Questions. But when people are calm, their hearts are close. Questions. And they can speak softly because they understand each other. That's what calmness does. It keeps your heart close even when situations try to pull it apart. In daily life, questions, we face countless situations that test our patience. Maybe your boss blames you unfairly, or your child refuses to listen, or your partner says something hurtful. The mind wants to react instantly, questions, to defend, to prove, to argue. But reacting immediately is like throwing fuel on a fire. It only makes it burn higher. When you pause, even for a few seconds, the intensity of the emotion drops. Questions. The fire begins to calm. And in that moment, you can choose a wiser response. Think of it this way. If someone hands you a burning coal of anger and you grab it instantly, you'll get burned. Questions. But if you pause, breathe, and observe, you'll realize you don't need to pick it up at all. That's what emotional maturity looks like. Not reacting to everything that provokes you. Questions. Calmness is also contagious. When you stay centered, it naturally influences others. Have you ever noticed that in a heated argument, if one person stays quiet and composed, questions, the other person slowly lowers their tone? Because calm energy always disarms chaos. It's not weakness, it's strength under control. There's a powerful line by Gaur Gopal Das. Questions. Don't be a thermometer that reacts to the heat, be a thermostat that sets the temperature. A thermometer merely reflects what's happening around it. But a thermostat decides the climate. Questions. In life, don't let external situations control your inner peace. Let your inner peace control how you experience those situations. Let's take another example. Questions. Suppose you receive a hurtful message from a friend. In that moment, emotions rush in. Anger, sadness, betrayal. You feel like replying immediately. But if you do, chances are, questions, you'll say something you'll regret later. Instead, you take a moment, you breathe. Maybe you go for a walk, drink water, or write your feelings in a journal. An hour later, questions, the same message feels lighter. You might even realize it wasn't meant to hurt you as much as you thought. That's the magic of a pause. It doesn't change the situation, but it changes you. Questions. Calmness gives you clarity. It allows you to see beyond the surface emotion to the deeper truth. When you're angry, your mind becomes narrow. When you're calm, your vision expands. Questions. You start seeing solutions instead of problems, understanding instead of judgment. We often think reacting shows strength, but actually reacting is easy. Anyone can shout, argue, or blame. Questions. But staying calm, that requires real courage. The person who can stay composed when provoked holds the true power in any situation. Even in the smallest things. Questions. Like waiting in a long queue or dealing with delays. Practicing patience builds strength. When you stay calm in small irritations, you're preparing yourself for bigger storms. Life will test you. Questions. But each time you pause, you're building emotional muscle. There's a beautiful story of Mahatma Gandhi. Once, during a train journey, someone insulted him harshly. Instead of responding, questions, Gandhi simply smiled and remained silent. Later, when asked why he didn't defend himself, he said, "If I react to every bark, I'll never reach my destination." That's calmness, not weakness. Questions, but wisdom. Calm people are not those who never get angry. They are those who know how to manage anger. They've learned that reacting impulsively gives control to others' questions, while staying calm keeps control within. The pause is their secret weapon. It transforms chaos into clarity. The next time you're about to react, just take one conscious breath. One deep inhale. Questions. One gentle exhale. It's amazing how much peace a few seconds can bring. It's like putting a cushion between your mind and the world. That small moment of awareness can prevent hours of regret. Questions. Remember, the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more calm minds, more composed hearts, more people who can bring peace into any situation just by being peaceful themselves. Questions. When you master the art of pausing, you no longer live at the mercy of circumstances. You live from a place of choice, not compulsion. You respond with wisdom instead of reacting with emotion. Questions. You become unshakable, not because life stops testing you, but because you've learned the greatest secret of strength. Questions. Most people wait for motivation to strike before taking action. They say, questions. I'll start exercising when I feel ready, or I'll study when I feel inspired. I'll work on my goals when I'm in the mood. But here's the truth. Motivation is temporary. Questions. It comes and goes like the weather. One day you feel unstoppable, and the next day you can't even get out of bed. If you depend on motivation, your progress will always be inconsistent. Questions. But if you build discipline, you'll keep moving forward even when your feelings say no. That's the difference between dreamers and achievers. Discipline is doing what needs to be done. Questions. Even when you don't feel like it. It's the silent, consistent effort that builds empires, transforms bodies, and strengthens minds. Motivation might get you started. Questions. But discipline is what keeps you going when the excitement fades. Think of it like brushing your teeth. Questions. You don't brush your teeth every morning because you're motivated. You do it because it's a discipline, a daily habit that keeps you healthy. Similarly, questions. Mental strength is built when your daily habits align with your higher goals, not with your temporary emotions. Let's take a real life example. Imagine a student preparing for an exam. Questions. In the beginning, he's full of energy. He makes a timetable, buys new notebooks, and studies passionately for the first few days. But as the days pass, his motivation fades. He feels tired, bored, questions, and distracted. This is where most people quit. But the disciplined student, he studies anyway. Not because he's motivated, but because he's committed. Questions. And that commitment is what takes him across the finish line. Discipline is not about perfection, it's about persistence. It's about showing up even when you're not in the mood. Questions. Think about an athlete training for a marathon. There will be days when the weather is bad, when his body aches, when his mind screams, take a break. But he still runs. Questions. Because he knows every time he trains when it's hard, he's not just building his body, he's building his character. In life, it's easy to be motivated when things are exciting. Questions. But real strength shows up on the days when it's boring, painful, or tiring. Motivation asks, do I feel like doing this? Discipline says, questions. It doesn't matter how I feel, I'll do it anyway. One of the best examples of discipline comes from soldiers. They don't wait to feel motivated to wake up early or to train. Questions. They follow a routine because they know their life and others' lives depend on it. That's what gives them power and control even in the toughest situations. The same principle applies to life. Questions. When you discipline your mind, emotions, and habits, you become unstoppable. Let's talk about something most people can relate to: fitness. How many times have you promised yourself? Questions. From tomorrow, I'll exercise regularly. The first few days, you feel amazing. You post about it, you eat clean, you're pumped up. But then a busy day comes or you feel tired and you say, questions. Just today, I'll skip. That one skip turns into 2, then 3, and soon you've lost the rhythm. Why? Because motivation started the journey, but discipline didn't take over. Questions. The people you see with long-term fitness success are not the most motivated. They're the most disciplined. They do it not because they love every workout, questions, but because they love the results consistency brings. Discipline also builds self-respect. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your confidence grows. You start trusting yourself more. Questions. But every time you break a commitment, you lose a little bit of that trust. When you say, I'll wake up at 5 a.m. and actually do it, you prove to your mind that your words matter. Questions. And that self-trust is one of the strongest foundations of mental strength. There's a famous saying, motivation gets you going. Questions. But discipline keeps you growing. The world is full of talented people who never reached their potential, not because they lacked skill, but because they lack consistency. Questions. Talent and motivation might give you a head start, but only discipline can take you to the finish line. Look at nature. It teaches us the same lesson. The sun rises every morning without fail. Questions. The river keeps flowing. The tree grows quietly day after day, even when no one notices. That's discipline, steady, silent, and powerful. You might not see results immediately, questions, but every small act of discipline compounds over time. Take the example of someone trying to save money. Motivation might make you save a few weeks, but discipline is what builds wealth. Questions. The daily act of saying no to small temptations, of managing spending wisely. It's not glamorous, but it's powerful. Years later, those consistent habits create financial peace. Questions. Discipline doesn't make life rigid, it makes it reliable. It gives structure to your dreams. It's like the roots of a tree. You don't see them, but they hold everything together. Questions. Without discipline, motivation is like a balloon. It flies high but deflates quickly. Even in relationships, discipline matters. The discipline to listen before reacting. Questions. To show kindness even when you're upset. To communicate daily even when you're tired. These are what keep love alive long after the initial excitement fades. True strength lies in commitment. Questions, not convenience. Yes, discipline is uncomfortable. It's not always fun to wake up early, to study instead of scrolling, to eat healthy when junk food calls your name. But here's the secret. Questions. The pain of discipline weighs ounces, while the pain of regret weighs tons. You can suffer the discomfort of consistency now, or the heaviness of, I wish I had later. The choice is yours. Questions. When you live with discipline, you stop waiting for perfect moments. You create them. You stop chasing fleeting motivation. You build permanent habits. And slowly, questions, your life transforms. Not overnight, but day by day, step by step. The strongest minds are not those who feel motivated all the time, but those who keep going when motivation is gone. Questions. Because discipline is not just an action, it's a mindset. It's telling yourself, I will do what I said I would do no matter what. So, don't wait to feel ready. Questions. Don't wait for inspiration. Start now, even if it's small. Because discipline, once built, will carry you through days when nothing else can. Motivation might give you a spark. Questions. But discipline will keep your fire burning even when the world goes dark. That's the essence of mental strength, to keep showing up no matter how you feel. Because in the end, feelings fade. Questions. But discipline remains. And that's why in the long run, discipline is stronger than motivation.